Good morning and welcome everyone to Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center podcast, where we talk about ancient spiritual subject matters, specifically from the Bhagavad Gita that we're studying together. And we learn how to bring these ancient spiritual truths into our everyday lives. We are here with our live studio audience and our hosts, Doyal Garanga and Achyuta Gopi. How are you two doing today?
I'm sheltered.
She's sheltered. I had a dream that I had really long hair past my shoulders.
How are you managing that?
I don't know. It kind of happened overnight in the dream, and I was like, how did that happen?
I've had dreams like that.
Yeah.
Where like in the middle, somehow, amazingly, your hair is like down to your knees. I wonder what that means.
I wasn't sure how I felt about it.
I feel like it has to have some sort of meaning.
Maybe.
I gave myself like a stomach situation. I was trying to be fancy, and I made my own almond milk, and it didn't go well. And I woke up in the middle of the night like it was really bad. So I'm like, oh, I'm a little.
What's wrong with making almond milk? Did you
No,
use rotten almonds?
I hope not, because I just bought them, but I think I soaked them for too long or something.
How long did you soak them for?
Like overnight and then the whole next day. So maybe it was like,
that's too long.
Okay. That's what I figured.
Was it bubbling a little bit?
Yes, it was.
Okay, it's too long.
I was
especially because it's so hot out, you know?
Yeah.
8 hours is plenty. You got to change the water.
I love the internet, because look.
We went from long hair in a dream to Kishore's midnight stomach woes to the internet. Here we go.
The reason I love the internet is because I was scrolling through stories yesterday, drinking my store-bought oat milk, right? And then I see this story. It's like, oh my gosh, everybody, you should all make your own almond milk. If you can't, like, the stores are terrible people.
That is true. That's true.
They are definitely horrible people. But then
it's all owned by Nabisco.
This is like God is writing a sitcom with our lives.
Exactly. That's how I felt.
Like Kishore was like, oh my gosh, everybody make your own nut milk. Don't trust the stores. And then next morning he's like, I'm not feeling so well, guys.
But the thing is that I've made my own.
I left it in a bowl of water for 3 days, and then I drank the water and threw out the almonds. Is that how it works?
I knew that it was going to come back to bite me in the butt, because I was like, because the companies are evil, but I've made my own almond milk before and it like comes out perfectly. So I think
I want to know, were those statements before or after the Arise podcast?
They were before the Arise.
Were they talking about almond milk on Arise?
I was.
I feel like usually
something tells me Jai Jagannath's not making his own almond milk.
I feel like poor Jai Jagannath, he'd be mad at the blender, he'd be mad at everything else. Nothing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, this is a conspiracy. The blender has it against me. Anyway, guys,
are you feeling better?
If it's bubbling, apparently don't. I'm feeling like I'm here. That's how I'm feeling. I'm here, and I'm sheltered because it could have been a lot worse.
Well, I hope you feel better really quickly. We'll talk.
Paul Davey said bubbling almond milk equals fermenting almond milk.
And now that I think about it, it was like a little sour, but I put a date in it, so it tastes sweet. Anyway, we're talking we're talking about how the soul is indestructible, folks. Lots of stuff can happen to the body, but the soul indestructible.
The soul indestructible cannot be burned by water, moistened by water, or fermented by almond milk.
Almond milk.
Oh God.
That's
right.
It's a new edition. This is Bhagavad Gita Revised 2022 version.
Today's podcast brought to you by the Nabisco Company.
Nabisco.
Okay, so
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. That's all the time we have. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Be careful what you blend. Is that it? Is that where we left? Is that where we left off yesterday?
Yeah, that's where we
Maybe
left.
though. Maybe that's a right step in the direction to making the almond yogurt.
Ah.
Because that's supposed to be sour.
I thought you were going to say something about the Bhagavad Gita. I thought you were going to be like, maybe it all ties
No,
into the
maybe.
Gita.
No, none of it ties into the Gita.
I'm sure it will actually. Let's try it.
It will. Let's try it. We're reading chapter 2, verses 8.
Let's see if we can twist and contort Krishna's words to match what we're trying to say.
18 and something, and maybe more. We'll see. Achyuta, take us away.
Wait a second. Oh, I wasn't here yesterday.
Yeah, we read 16 and 17 yesterday.
Okay. All right. I will just listen and follow.
So 218. The material body of the indestructible.
It does. It ties in perfectly. Krishna planned this.
Okay, we're going to try again. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharat. Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain.
So drink up.
It's a good tongue twister.
All right, one of you guys are gonna have to say something meaningful here.
I'm just thinking about the almonds. I'm thinking about the almonds. I'm like, yeah.
It looks like he's like lamenting his karmic reactions in
Lamenting
life.
the fermenting.
Like, yes, Krishna, the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable. Like, I agree. That's what I have to say. I agree, Krishna.
There was something, if I can try to salvage this.
Please.
You know, there's something that Ranat Swami has said often about, you know, like I work in management and I serve at the Bhakti Center in various management positions, and there's always challenges even. And, you know, people are sometimes surprised that, you know, when I talk about trying to get things done at the Bhakti Center or working as a team, et cetera, and they're like, you guys have challenges too? Like, I thought you guys were all spiritually enlightened people that, you know, nothing ever goes wrong. It's like, no, we're humans and things are hard and it's still tough to work as teams and to move things forward, et cetera. And he said, you know, don't be surprised. In the material world, we should never be surprised when things go wrong. We should be surprised when things go right. Because it's just kind of the nature of things in the material world is we should expect adversity. We should expect challenges. And so I think that, you know, when it's mentioning the body, material body, that which pervades the body should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, eternal entity is sure to come to an end. And so I think that this highlighting, you know, Krishna's taking a lot of time and energy to highlight the difference between matter and spirit. And you know, one of my favorite verses was just before this verse 16, where he talks about the difference between the material body and the eternal soul, about that which is permanent and that which is temporary. And he uses the word sat and asat, that the same word for truth, sat, is the same word for eternal. That which is real is that which is ever existing. And I think that so much of material energy is trying to hold on to things that were never meant to last. And I think that what Krishna's giving us here is this kind of almost like this letting go formula, of like, what are the things that I'm trying to hold on to that were never meant to last. And so I think that there's this concept of holding on to things that aren't meant to last. And that's as far as I got. I realized at a certain point that I wasn't going to take it further than that, but I thought maybe I'd start some conversation around that.
In listening to you, I was kind of thinking about these two verses kind of have made me confused. Because when you really think about it, it starts to bring up this kind of like age old, how do I know the things that are worthy of hanging on to, lamenting over, And then how do I know what to let go? How do I know it's my plan versus Krishna's plan? That's like, it's like the same. How do I know whose plan this is? Because you were saying it kind of gives us a formula to let go. And in this case, Krishna is really telling Arjuna, no, seriously, this is not the family that you need to hang on to. But there were still those like societal labels of family, this label of family and that label of family. And it kind of brings you to a really strong point where you actually have to reassess family and chosen family, who you protect, who you give your time to, and your, in essence, your devotion to, and the labels of family who are not serving you. Now, for Arjuna, it might have been really clear because his family out and out tried to kill him several times and then kidnap his wife and then do all these things and then do and anything possible they tried to do it. But what it takes, it feels like it takes us so much longer when it's so much more subtle. Like you might not have families that are overtly trying to kill you, and so it makes the decision good. These people are toxic, these people are safe. So I feel like it takes such a long time to kind of suss out what is the toxic that needs to be let go and what is safe that you can hold on to. And maybe there's no answer for that snap judgment. Maybe the answer is that it's okay, that it takes life a long time to figure that out. Maybe it's okay that it's like, oh my gosh, that person's toxic, why didn't you walk away from them 12 years ago? It's like, because life takes time.
That's, I feel like that's such an important point, Achyuta, that you're making, because I think that there is this mood sometimes of like immediate transcendence, of just like, you know, we're just supposed to be spiritual and now, you know, like, or in a year, you know,
Yeah.
go to the ashram, learn all the bhakti things, and now immediate transcendence. We were talking about this yesterday. I did a podcast with Jay Jagannath about, mostly it was about the topic of being gay and stuff like that. And it was just insane that apparently someone had recommended to, you know, because the way that we see grahasta ashram, or this means like the period of time in your life where you're with a partner and where you're with a wife or a husband and you're having a family and etc., and utilizing that family as a means to enhance, or not enhance, but like move along your Krishna consciousness. Let's put it that way. And so anyway, to make a very long story short, Jay Jagannath was mentioning a personal anecdote about someone in a position of leadership who had mentioned to a gay person, a gay devotee, like, for you, you cannot go on the grahasta path. And for you, you must take the path of immediate transcendence. And I thought, exactly. And it's like, and the whole caveat to that is like, wait a minute, like if I could be immediately transcended, if I could have healed that relationship at the blink of an eye, if I could have walked away from that thing that, you know, is keeping me in the darkness instantly, like I would have done it. I'd be there in the spiritual world with Krishna, but that's not where we're at, you know, and we need help actually. And so I really appreciate you bringing that into like keeping it real, in the sense of like, stuff takes time and letting go takes time, and it's not this like immediate transcendence process of just like, I chant Hare Krishna and now I am happy and all my problems are gone. You know, it's like, yes, chanting makes us happy, and it brings light and love to our heart, and it connects us. You know, it starts to till the soil for us to have a relationship with Krishna. But you know, there's a whole process that's delineated in bhakti. We were talking yesterday, Truth, about how bhakti loves steps, all these steps, and there's a whole process of purifying the heart of all of these things, and that takes a lot of time.
And you know, this false misconception with the fact that it's like we are misidentifying all over the place. First, we're misidentifying ourselves with the body and just the body, and that's it. And then we're misidentifying the material world. Every time we're like, oh, I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this, and then I won't have any more problems. The nature of the material world is to have problems. Even God had problems. Every time he decided to bring himself to this material world, he had problems. That's like eating sugar. And every time you eat one, you're like, oh, well, I can't believe that sugar's sweet. It's like, it's that, stop expecting it to be something like it's going to be sweet. That's what's going to happen. And we have to get into our minds that some things are the nature, the constitutional makeup of this material world. So problems are always going to be there. Even if you live in the most utopian, wonderful, filled with consciously minded people, there will be problems because that is actually the nature of this temporary thing. It's the fact that there are stresses and obstacles and issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There we have it.
There we have it. That's that.
That's that. All right. We did it.
And okay, and not to bring it back to the almond story, but and I feel like even when you're trying so hard to do everything quote unquote right, the material world reminds you that this is a place of problems. Like, I'll use my example. Yesterday, I was trying to be healthy and I was like not eating the cake after the program that had lots of sugar in it. And I was like, no, no, no. I'm going to go home and make my own almond milk, naturally sweeten it. And like, when I was like trying to be healthy. And I come home and I'm like, and then I do this to myself. And I just woke up this morning like, God, like this material world is just full of problems. Even though I was trying, and that's how it feels in so many instances. I might be trying so hard to make things go right, or make things go the way that I want to go. And so much of this process of bhakti is letting go of control, is understanding that I'm not the controller, is understanding that this material world is a broken place and it's not like here for me to fix it. It is a place filled with problems. And rather, it's here for me to understand my relationship with Krishna. So very interesting how the material world works.
What I think was really cool is that throughout this whole thing, like I've been looking at it and I'm like, it's like no matter what you try to do or manipulate, at some points you also have to understand that you are at the mercy of material nature. You could do everything right, and then material nature, there's laws of material nature. If you soak your almonds too long, they will go rancid in the heat because nature,
You soak your almonds for 24 hours in August.
like legit nature. And so like I was telling my sister-in-law just this weekend, like she had made something and I was like, "Oh, did you put those in the fridge before you came over to my sister's house?" She's like, "No." I was like, "You should go home and put them in the fridge immediately." She's like, "You think so?" I was like, "It's hot and humid." She's like, "But the AC's on." I was like, "It's too humid. It'll the first rule of having food is that if it has any kind of oil content, it will go rancid from the morning till the early afternoon, evening, because material nature." And so, when Krishna is saying we are all under the shelter of material nature until we surrender to him, and then he says, and then I override it.
Mm-hmm.
I take you under my shelter. He's so like, he's really like, honestly, like, guys, I just want you to know that you're under the shelter of material nature.
Prasadam food doesn't go rancid.
No,
Well, let's hope you didn't offer it.
I I didn't know it was rancid at the time. It tasted fine at the time.
Except a little sour.
Except a little sour, but I thought that it was
That's
like,
fine. It's buttermilk.
yeah, I was just like, it's okay.
Should we, excuse me, should we read, because this whole section is a little bit of all related to the soul. Should we read a few more of these verses to get through this section, which are in many ways communicating the similar point of the soul?
Let's do it.
Also, have you all been exposed to Mangalananda's rock albums from the 70s?
No.
Oh, Govinda, within my heart, celestial herdsman, lotus-eyed one.
Your precious gift of love. It's really good. But he had one.
You who stand behind the sun.
One of my favorite songs.
You're the one.
You're the one.
The rainbow is the color of your dress. The beauty of the
feel like
moon
if I
reflects
could
your
find
mind. And smiling is the cause of happiness. And love exists because you are so
the light
kind.
is on my phone.
I'm supposed to keep going?
We're supposed to read the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, Kishore's like, we're supposed to be reading the Bhagavad Gita. I know everyone's swaying their arms like, Dial, stop it.
No, but I need to listen to this album. It sounded very nice.
The only reason I bring that in is because he has a song that talks about all of the attributes of the soul. And so it's like when you see a line and it comes from a commercial and all you can think is the jingle for the commercial, right? So whenever I see
Nabisco.
exactly, when I see these verses, all I can think of these songs. And it's a pretty cool song. I'll I'll figure it out. I'll find a way.
Find a way. Send it to me.
Send it to you.
And when I see his love, I know I got a long, long way to go. When will I taste the love he is feeling inside?
I had no idea that when I brought up classic rock and conscious music, I should have known actually, but I had no idea, Doyle, that this. I feel
That's
like
my jam.
we have a mic for you. Like I wish I could go and like tell Nandi to get the mic, and it has reverb. It's got everything.
I'm so into classic rock. I knew every classic rock song when I was in high school.
That's what I said. I should have figured.
Okay, Kishore, we're done. You can move on.
Until I take a moment and then bring up Journey. Like
Don't stop your chanting. Hold on to that feedback.
hey, that's actually a really good one.
Rounds ain't that hard.
I feel like we should have like an open mic classic rock night at the Bhakti Center. Like, just do whatever you want.
She's just a coolie girl living in a coolie world. She took the summer bus going anywhere.
No, really, that's kind of true. Those bus tours, man, I went on one. You find yourself anywhere.
Why are we in Mexico?
Oh, Krishna.
We were in Denver last night. Why did I wake up in Canada?
That did happen. That did happen. It was kind of like that. I woke up in Canada, and we were at a place. Well, first we went whale watching. I was like, wow. Why did you people bring me out whale watching? It was cold. And then we did see whales. And I realized that I was under the shelter of material nature because I was like, why are we out here on this little boat? And these whales are way too big. Take me back to the shores.
Did you tell those whales that the material body, the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end?
I told myself that although I am a part of the indestructible, this me, the small one, I would be nothing to that whale. They were too close. I was not okay. They were too close.
The shark is ravaging through the seal, and you're like, neither one who thinks the living entity the slayer, no thinks that slain is in knowledge, for the self is not slain, dear seal.
Oh no, poor seal.
Poor seal. Hare Krishna. Okay.
From a
Time, place, and circumstances. When to give spiritual knowledge and when to just give compassion. Okay. Anyways, Kishore, please.
That's actually that's a good one.
Hare Krishna. We have 5 minutes left. Should we read more or should we talk more about almonds?
I think we should read a couple of these verses.
Okay, we're going to read these verses. We are reading verse 19. It says, and onward. Wait, we did 18.
Yeah, we did 19.
Oh, we did 19, 20. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
Mangalananda Prabhu would have sung it. He's not slain when the body is slain. It's a really good one. It's the only reason I know this chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita.
We need to bring the band back together. Baldevi said that maybe my almond milk was fermented too.
I think Baldevi is thinking that this whole podcast is a fever dream. That's it. This is not real.
Started out with a dream of me having long hair, and we're still in the dream.
We're all having a collective dream. Oh, Krishna. Okay, verse 21. Oh, Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. The individual soul is unbreakable, insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Beautiful. There's something I want to say on this, that we got 2 minutes left, and I feel like I want to save it for tomorrow. And maybe, I don't know if we're gonna do our takeaways now and wrap this one up, but because I think there's a lot of rich stuff in here that I do want to mention, related a little bit to identity and how much spiritual life is about, every action that we do reinforces a certain identity in us, and how spiritual life, that the concept of ritual, really, we think ritual is this idea of just kind of thoughtless, robotic rules. But in Vedic culture, the idea of ritual, whether it be the arti ceremony or our sadhana, is built to help us reinforce the identity of who we are as spirit souls, rather than reinforce the idea that we are anything else that we, and so much of the idea of like restraint and renunciation tied to, this is bad and you shouldn't do this or whatever it is. It's less that this is bad and evil, and more like these things reinforce a false identity that isn't healthy for you. And so I think that it would be great to discuss that a little bit more in the next section. Arti is the same for a king and a commoner. Yes, Arti is the same.
Depends.
Baldevi mentioned in her comment.
I think the point is that the ritual of performing it winds up being the same for both. But I mean, there are differences. I think finally reading these verses out loud, like, made something click for me. And maybe it's because I finally asked that question out loud, the one of like, then Krishna, what if the body is not worthy of lamenting, then what is? Because you've got family on both sides, the principle, the idea of family on both sides. And finally, in reading this, because in my mind I was having an argument with Krishna, right? So it's like, knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. I'm like, see, Krishna, that's exactly what I mean. You're confusing. Like, what is Arjuna supposed to really cling on to? He's got relationships with all these people, and it felt like my mind was like, and I'm going to stop you right there. He's got relationships. And I was like, oh, I've still been identifying with the body. Got it. Like, it's not about the body that they were in that gave him his relationships of family. It's the way he interacted with them. It's family, like Varna or Ashram, is not something that you are simply born with the title of. It's about the relationships and the actions that you pursue along with that title or choose to reject. So he has a title of family, and you might have a title of Brahmin or Kshatriya or Vaishya or Shudra or woman or man or whatever the case is. householder, transcended monk, whichever. And Srila Prabhupada will constantly say in the upcoming verses and within Bhagavad Gita that this Varnashram system cannot just be about the labels you were given at birth. Can't just be about it. It has to be about your actions. It has to be about the integrity and the character that you live with and the relationships that you make. And I feel as though that becomes what is worthy of lamentation. Those relationships and connections that we had that happened to be with a soul that inhabited that body.
Such beautiful points about identity, about the soul that is inhabiting the body. And I think that this is a nice place that we can start off on tomorrow, because all the verses we just read, it's like hearing them out loud. It's like, whoa, okay. So I think we can continue this tomorrow because we're fresh out of time. And we will hand it over to our dear Kimberly to give us our takeaway. What you got for us today, Kimberly?
Thank you. So today we're taking away that material nature is a wonky place. Be surprised when things go right. Life takes time to ferment, and that our rituals can enforce our identity as spirit souls.
Oh my God, thank you. Life takes time to ferment. Dayal's takeaway in the chat is don't ferment your almond milk. Don't do it. Don't do it, folks.
Can I just say, I appreciate you so much, Kishore, for like being a cautionary because to be honest, you could have been in here and you could have just been like, oh no, I'm good this morning, I'm fine, just going with it. And then you like chose to make us near and dear to you and kind of let us, and it's like, actually, I'm not feeling so well.
Actually, I fermented my own almond milk and drank it. Yeah, thank you, Achuta. I think the more real, my takeaway is that I think the more real we can be with each other about the struggles of material life, the more real it makes our endeavors in the bhakti path together. It makes it just feel more together. So thank you for that. But do you have any takeaways, Dayal or Achuta, besides fermenting almond milk?
Those are the real struggles of material life.
No, I really think that this whole podcast for me has been like, what happens when you actually ask the questions out loud, when you say the things out loud. I really feel like Krishna decides to like reciprocate and answer back. So it's important to say the things out loud.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okie dokie. Thank you all so much. Thank you, everyone in our live studio audience: Martha, Kimberly, Pasha, Leileshwari, Lane, Anna, Rachna, Rini, Dana, Baldevi. Thank you all so much for your beautiful presence. Oh, and Hirinka is also here. Thank you, Dayal. Thank you, Achuta. We will be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and we'll see you there. Thank you all so much. Bye, folks.